My name is Ciarán MacAirt and I'm a grandson of two of the victims of the McGurk's Massacre of 4th of December 1971. My grandmother Kathleen Irvine was one of 15 civilians murdered that night. 2 children lay among the dead as well. My grandfather John was badly injured but survived and carried the mental and physical scars with him the rest of his days. At the time, the McGurk's Massacre was the greatest loss of civilian life in any single murderous attack since the Nazi Blitz of Belfast a generation before. Over half a century later, the British state is still withholding critical evidence about the massacre and its subsequent cover-up. Most recently, I've proved how the British Ministry of Defence and Police Service of Northern Ireland are willfully withholding evidence regarding the mass murder and a secret agreement that the British Army and Police had to blame the massacre on a Republican own goal, thereby blaming our loved ones and criminalising innocent civilians. We have now been told that the Office of the Police Ombudsman is withholding evidence of the police cover-up of the atrocity as well, and I have been forced to complain to the Information Commissioner's Office. In August 2021, I submitted 2 very simple requests for information relating to evidence that I found in British state files, not evidence found by the PSNI or the Office of the Police Ombudsman. These regarded a secret agreement between then Brigadier Frank Kitson, now retired General Sir Frank Kitson, and the Royal Ulster Constabulary, RUC, to follow the police line, their word, that the McGurk's Massacre was a result of an IRA own goal and not an attack by pro-state loyalists. This fabrication recorded RUC have a line that the bomb in the pub was a bomb designed to be used elsewhere, left in the pub to be picked up by the provisional IRA. Bomb went off and was a mistake. RUC press office had a line on it. Lies submitted by the Chief Constable of RUC and the head of Special Branch to the Northern Ireland Prime Minister, Brian Faulkner, and General Officer Commanding the British Army in Northern Ireland at that time, which alleges that 2 of the victims were known IRA members and that the explosion was a result of an IRA own goal. This RUC fabrication recorded circumstantial evidence indicates that this was a premature detonation and 2 of those killed were known IRA members, at least one of whom had been associated with bombing activities. Intelligence indicates that the bomb was destined for use elsewhere in the city. These were lies. This evidence is in the British state's own files, but nobody has been willing or able to admit its provenance, i.e. who made it up. This is a simple request and yet has been withheld from the families for over 50 years. It has also been left to the families to fight and claw for information. The secret agreement between Kitson and RUC is the earliest disinformation I have discovered, and this was just over 4 hours after the explosion. I asked the Office of the Police Ombudsman for confirmation that it had actually discovered and considered the secret agreement between the British Army's Brigadier Frank Kitson and the RUC, as there is no reference whatsoever to this collusion in the Police Ombudsman's 2011 report into the massacre. I also asked the Office of the Police Ombudsman the provenance, dates and source of the RUC line and subsequent lies the RUC's leaders told directly to the Stormont government. The Office of the Police Ombudsman originally admitted that the office held the information, but that it exempted itself from providing it to the families, as it was likely, it said, to prejudice the exercise by the public authority of its functions. Furthermore, it says it exempted disclosure as it was prohibited by other legislation, namely Section 63, Police Northern Ireland Act of 1998. The Office of the Police Ombudsman wrote in the original refusal on 30th of September 2021, having considered the information that you have requested, the Office confirms that the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. The Office believes that it is in the interest of the police complaint system, and therefore in the public interest, to have a service where the participation of people who make complaints, of police officers who are complained about, of witnesses, suspects and others who can assist, is reliant upon ensuring their confidentiality insofar as we can. We believe that disclosing the information that you have asked for, if it were to become known, would have the effect of deterring others from using and assisting the police complaints process. It would prejudice our public function. Following a further delayed internal review by the Office of the Police Ombudsman, the Office's Acting Director of Legal Services apologised for the late initial response and late internal review, but has upheld the original response and added further exemptions. It is disgusting that after half a century and 2 failed reports that the Office of the Police Ombudsman is withholding evidence regarding collusion between the RUC and the British Army, and the then Chief Constable's fabrication of lies about victims of the McGurk's Massacre. This was a simple request to the Office of the Police Ombudsman to prove that it had investigated the origin of the Chief Constable's lies in 1971 and knew about the secret agreement between the police and Brigadier Frank Kitson to blame our loved ones. Instead, the Office of the Police Ombudsman says it has the information, but we're not getting it. If it had this critical evidence, the Police Ombudsman did not include it in its 2011 report, as it completely undermines the Office's findings. It alleged investigative police bias, but no collusion in 2011. Nevertheless, the Police Ombudsman failed to tell our families about a secret agreement between Brigadier Frank Kitson and the RUC hours after the explosion, when the police and British Army colluded to blame the massacre on an IRA own goal, thereby criminalising the victims and survivors of the atrocity. Therefore, we can only conclude that the Office of the Police Ombudsman had this evidence but chose to bury it, thereby helping to perpetuate the police and British Army cover-up of the McGurk's Massacre. This failure to provide simple information goes to the heart of the lack of credibility of the 2011 report and the Office of the Police Ombudsman today. Furthermore, the Office's withholding of evidence is undermining the police complaint system, not my request for basic information about the murder of 15 civilians, including my grandmother and 2 children. Therefore, I have been forced to take my complaint to the Information Commissioner's Office, as I demand that the Police Ombudsman hands over this evidence of police collusion and lies and tells our families why her office buried it in 2011.